Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. It's that time. Yeah, baby. It's Tuesday. The show always comes to you on Tuesday. Do people notice? How much do you notice about the podcast? The details. What's different in this week's video podcast? You tell me. That's right. Green. Painted the office green. I've always wanted it to be green, and I finally got it together. I got my daughter in here, and it was dirty. We had white walls that were scuffed. We got some green paint, and it was so much fun because I used to paint. I don't know if you guys enjoy painting as much as I do. There's something so satisfying when I do nothing for a living. I talk. It's bullshit. It flies by. Yeah, it's recorded, but who really cares? But when you're a painter and you can stand back at the end of a day and look at what you did and take it in, and you got paint on your hands and you're tired. I don't know. When I was in college, I used to work as a painter, and we would paint all these, the student apartments. So all these student slums. And we had this guy who would contract us. It was like 4 or 5 of us, college kids. And we would just get Red Man, you know, the leafy chew. You get a big fucking cheek full of Red Man, and you'd spit, chewing tobacco, spit. Listen to classic rock on what was the big station in Boston? BCN, WBCN, classic rock. Charles Laquidero and Mark Parento. And we would play a game where you got a point if you could name whatever song came on, the title of the song, another point for naming the artist. First one to do it. And I kicked ass. Something would come on and I would be like, Bruce Springsteen, Darkness on the Edge of Town. 2 points, spit. I think we got paid like $10 an hour, which was great back then, under the table. Drank all day. Those were the days. Look at me complaining. I'm sitting in an office talking. It's my job now. Not getting on planes. Home with the family. My daughter, as a matter of fact, painted the office with me. She came in, and she's about to she'll be 17 next month. God damn. And she's a hard worker. Ever since she was a little kid, if there was something to do around the house, like, you know, hey, we're gonna wash all the windows in the house today. She was on it. She would wash inside and out for hours at a time, and not complain. My son would peter out after like 5 minutes. He would bail, and she would just keep going. So she came in here. We took my office apart, cleaned it, vacuumed it, wiped it down, cleaned the windows, painted the shit out of it. It was fun. And I said to her, she goes, Dad, play me some comedy that you like, because she's so used to listening to. She has pretty good taste. You know, there's a lot of people that she likes. She likes what's his name, the Australian guy, Jim Jeffries. She really likes Jim Jeffries. She likes Bill Burr. And so I put on some Maria Bamford for her and blew her mind. She loved it. She was like, Dad, I just really, this speaks to me. You know, because she talks about, look, every teenage girl is depressed, and there's some depression. And Maria has this great line where she says, I've never really thought of myself as depressed as much as paralyzed by hope. And like, she says these things that are just fucking, they resonate, but they're also funny as shit. And the way she slips between voices without making a big deal out of it. She doesn't announce that she's doing somebody's voice. She just does it. And so smart. And then I played her some Bill Hicks so she could understand what a very pure form of stand-up comedy is. If you don't know Bill Hicks, shame on you. Listen to Bill Hicks. He was a guy who came out of Houston back in the 80s. And he's part of they called him the Outlaws of Comedy, a bunch of guys. And Kinnison was part of that group, and Brett Butler, and they guys and girls, guys and women. Women are funny. Yes, they are. Maria Bamford. Anyway, So she dug Bill Hicks, very political, very angry. She loved the way he took on pop culture, destroyed it. It was fun. So what else? I've been taking walks, long fucking walks, like 6-7 miles early in the morning. And then I go all day. I had a woman though. I don't wear a mask usually, and I had some woman start yelling at me. This old lady was yelling at me to put a mask on. But look, I'm pretty good about social distancing. But walking down the street, the chances that you're going to spread it to somebody else without a mask are like they're in. What's the word? Infinitesimal. They're small. It's very small. You're not going to do it unless you cough in somebody's face, which I'm not going to do, obviously. But anyway, I like wearing a mask. I usually wear if I go to the store or just out. If I'm walking in my neighborhood and like there's walk streets. If I walk down the walk streets, I wear the mask, and it's very freeing because it's just so great for me to walk around and not get recognized, not have people fucking stopping me for autographs and selfies and, hey, what's it like to be so big? Hey, you're Greg Fitzsimmons. Hey, Fitzdog. Hey, Greg Fitzsimmons. Hey, come here. Come talk to me. I'm kidding. That never happens. But it wouldn't. But if it did, I would be glad to have a mask on so that it wouldn't happen. No, I actually like when it happens. I like it. Being recognized is a really nice perk of being in show business. It's a good feeling because I get it just the right amount. I crawled my way to the middle in this business. I'm not inundated with people bothering me. I shouldn't say bothering me, interrupting me, I should say. At worst, it's interrupting. But it makes me feel good. I'm glad that people enjoy what I do and are excited to meet somebody that they listen to on podcasts or watch do stand up. So it's fun. But I can't imagine being super famous. That wouldn't be fun at all. Imagine Leonardo DiCaprio walking down the street. He can't go to a restaurant. Let's all cry a tear. Let's all cry a tear for fucking. That's the thing I was realizing today is I play golf. I don't know if you can tell from my outfit. By the way, if you're not watching the podcast, you can. It's now on YouTube as of this week. It is being played on my YouTube channel. Just, I don't know, go to YouTube and put in Fitzdog Radio. I think that's all you got to do. And you can watch the magic. Bobcat Goldthwait, by the way, will be on the podcast in a minute. And not a minute, in a little while. We got some shit to talk about. But I was thinking about like crying a tear. Like I played golf today. You can tell from my golf shirt and my fucking hat. And it's, look, I don't belong to a country club. I play at a public course, and we're going down the second hole, and it's in Venice, this public course, and the entire second hole has a chain link fence along a road, a pretty busy road, and it's become a homeless encampment. And when I say encampment, it runs for a mile or half a mile of just tent after tent after tent and bicycles. They take bicycles apart, and there's a lot of, it's tough on these people. This is the only place they can live. And at the same time, I'm playing golf, and it makes you feel like such a douchebag that it's like I hit my ball towards the chain link fence, and I went over to look for it, but then I left it. I didn't even look for it because they were looking at me. Like there was such a like right and wrong side of the tracks kind of a feeling going on. It was a right and wrong side of the chain link fence. And I felt embarrassed that I'm playing, of all sports. I mean, unless it's, I guess, polo. I can't think of a sport where you feel more like a rich douchebag than golf. These people are fucking homeless. They have nowhere to live. They got nothing. And then just as I'm feeling really douchey, there's an airport right next to the golf course and a private jet. All these, it's mostly for private jets. It's all for private jets. And and this plane comes overhead, And it always annoys you because it's loud and it's nasty. You know, it makes the fucking air smell. And you immediately go like, oh no, now you're a douchebag. I get to be the guy calling you a douchebag. And it made me realize that is where I am. I'm in the middle. That's where you want to be in life. Be in the middle. Don't be in a tent, but also don't be in a fucking jet. Just be in a public course in Venice with 3 really good friends, shooting the shit, busting each other's balls. It's a good fucking day. Playing some golf. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, if you are a golfer, if you're any kind of an athlete, you're going to get sore sometimes. Cryomax is going to help you. Stay away from the doctor with the coronavirus. Do you want to take a trip to the chiropractor? No. You can keep your body healthy and pain-free by, whether it's arthritis, backaches, muscle soreness, joint pain, whatever. If you want to try a drug-free, and don't take painkillers, people. You get hooked on them. You can't take a decent dump. Try the product you've probably been hearing about on so many other podcasts. Cryofreeze CBD pain relief roll-on. All natural topical pain reliever. Instantly ices out the pain with a 1-2 punch of super cold menthol and hemp CBD. You roll it on your back, neck, hands, block the pain, reduce inflammation, improve muscle and joint flexibility. Cryofreeze contains 10 powerful ingredients that combine to provide a relief which can last up to 8 hours, longer than those roll-ons that you find in the store. My promo code, DOG, lets you get 20% off on Cryofreeze and off anything on the site at omaxhealth.com. I mean, really, I got bursitis in my hip, and I couldn't have played golf today. I could not have gotten on that golf course. I can't move it, so I rub this stuff on. I feel the coolness. I feel it starts to mellow it out, and I get out there, and I do. And I was asking I just got a physical, and I was asking my general practitioner. I go, what am I going to do about this? He said it's bursitis. I go, what do I do? You know what he said? Rub some CBD on it. That's what he said. My doctor, one of the best doctors on the west side of Los Angeles. I do it again at bedtime if I'm a little sore and I can't sleep on that side. I rub it on. I can sleep on that side. So stop complaining. I was inspired by cryotherapy, the treatment, that stuff. You expose yourself to cold temperatures. Steph Curry, LeBron James, they do that. So if you have the pain that won't go away, you qualify for Omax Cryofreeze. Roll it over where it hurts and ice out the pain. No messy creams or horrible fragrances like other products. Cryofreeze works within 5 minutes, improving physical training, recovery, and performance. Go to omaxhealth.com and enter code DOG and get 20% off Cryofreeze. That's omaxhealth.com and enter code DOG. Get 20% off and site-wide. Okay, let's do it. We get to this thing we do every week, which is you guys, you've all got charming grandparents, but some of them are from Ireland or from the South, and they say fun shit. Old adages, we're calling this segment. Old adages. This one comes from Matthew Troncelletti. I don't know if it's Troncelletti or Troncelletti. I bet in Italy it was Troncelletti, and in this country it's Troncelletti. Anyway, this guy challenged me. He emailed me at fitzdog@gmail.com, which you can also, if you want to reach out and say hi. He challenged me to a virtual darts match. Not virtual, a Zoom darts match. And I said, fuck it. It's coronavirus time. I got nothing to do. So a couple nights ago, we got on Zoom together, never met the guy, and we both aimed our computers at the dartboard, and we played a couple games of darts. I kicked his ass. I didn't kick his ass. I won both games, barely, but it felt pretty good. And Matthew was a cool dude. He was down in his basement. He's got his daughter's fucking dolls. It's supposed to be his man cave, and there's all these like dolls laid out. He was humiliated. I was mocking him. But he's a good man. Lives outside of Philly, near where the Brennan boys live. A lot of stories about them. Anyway, so he has a grandfather who was a doctor. And this guy would say when somebody was going to die, he would say, don't buy him any green bananas. Damn. That's not a lot of time. A green banana is ripe in about, what, 4 days? So this is his grandfather's sweet way of saying, you're going to be dead in less than a week. Time to kiss this guy's ass for some of that will money. Start being nice to grandpa. When it's no green banana time, that's when you start rubbing his feet, making up some memories you don't really have to make it seem like you're close. You don't know what grandpa's got in the Roth IRA account. This is from Brennan West. He said when his grandfather would say when someone acted a little off, he would say, that boy's funny like a two-sided nickel. That's the thing about these colloquialisms, is a lot of times it does have to do with homosexuality, doesn't it? That boy's funny. Like a two-sided nickel. I think I know which side. I think it was the back side of the nickel. Twice. That guy's gay. That boy's funny. And then this guy, actually, I think this guy's black. Because he also said, stop bullshitting me with biscuits when I see cornbread on the goddamn table. That sounds like an all black guy. Black guys love cornbread. That's going to be taken out of context. Someone's going to clip that and put it on the internet. Just me saying that one thing. Who cares? This is from Rob Love. His grandpa would describe everything in terms of a jaybird's butt. It's colder than a jaybird's butt, or it's hotter than a jaybird's butt. He stopped using the more profane, colder than a gravedigger's ass decades earlier at the behest of my Catholic grandma. Too profane. Colder than a gravedigger. I've heard well digger's ass and gravedigger's ass, but gravedigger is that's even, think about what a shit job that is. I'm talking pre-tractor gravedigger, where it's your ass sticking out because you got a fucking shovel. And what a job. It's spooky. You're working at a graveyard every day, surrounded by sadness. If you're superstitious, you're getting freaked out. It's cold. You got a shovel, a spade, and you got to go in at freezing cold ground. You got to dig 6 feet down. What are you shitting me? And then you got to deal with the corpse. Then you got to put the corpse in. And on top of that, your ass is cold. Fuck that. Give me a factory job. Brittany Schneider, her grandfather used to say, don't put your turd in my pocket. Meaning when you're trying to blame him for something. Don't put your turd in my pocket. And when a server would ask if he wanted anything else, he always responded with a bag of $100 bills. Now, saying things like that when you're an old man comes off as sweet, charming. People love it. When you're young and you say stuff like that, you get an eye roll and maybe some counter aggression. And definitely don't use that one at the bank. I'd like to make this deposit. Anything else? Yeah. Like a bag of $100 bills. See her hand pushing a button under the counter. Or who knows? Maybe you walk out of there with a bag of $100 bills. And then the other thing that Brittany's grandfather would say is when talking to a friend about when money would come up, he'd say, if I had all your money, I'd burn mine. I like that. You could probably also say that about the guy's wife. If I had her, I'd burn mine. That was dark. It was a dark way to end the segment. The old adages. All right, if anybody knows Andy Kindler, you want to give him a shout out? He reached out to me. Andy Kindler, who's been on the show as much as any guest I've ever had. He's a dear friend. He reaches out to me. I think he's got a comedy album coming out. And he says, can I come on the show? I said, what, are you shitting me? Love for you to come on the show. People are always tweeting, when's Kindler coming back on the show? So I text him. He says, great. And then a week goes by. Hey, we doing this? Ghost. Email. Hey, we doing this? Ghost. Fucking 2 weeks it's been. So if you know Kindler, or if you want to light him up on Twitter, let him know we want him back on the show. Let's do this. We got some good guests coming up. Nick Swartzen's coming on. Natasha Leggero, Russell Peters, a couple big names I'm not even telling you about. So stay posted. If you want to watch my stand-up special that I taped about 5 years ago, it was a Comedy Central special, just got bought and is on Amazon Prime. It's called Life on Stage. If you want to check it out, don't forget to get the premium membership of the podcast. Get the back 800 episodes for less than $20 a year. Support the podcast. Do that. And don't forget also the Sunday Papers podcast I do with Mike Gibbons. It's climbing the charts. Check that out. And of course, Childish with Allison Rosen comes out every Wednesday. So let's get to it. My guest today is an old friend. I come out of the Boston scene. He helped create the Boston scene. He's a legend up there. One of the best comics, just comedy special after comedy special. Just one of the seminal guys when the comedy boom first started happening in the 80s and 90s. And then went on to have a huge career as an actor, writer, director. So you know him and love him. Here he is, my talk with the great Bobcat Goldthwait. All right, let's do it. Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. My guest, Bobcat Goldthwait, who looks like he's hibernating. He's got on a sweater that was knit by it was shade knit by some Peruvian women.
But it's Bigfoot. It's I wish it was like Bigfoot hair, a really expensive wool. How have you been doing?
Well, that's a big question these days. I would say that my kids have kind of hit the wall. There's a lot of chaos in my house. Like people are expressing themselves. My daughter dyed her hair blood red, and my son has grown an orange goatee, and I've been shaving my head, and it's a little bit like a prison.
That would make me happy, though. I remember when my daughter was little, like 8 or 9, I used to dye her hair for her. Like I would.
Oh, really?
But I would get in there, I'd strip the color out, and then I'd make her hair magenta or whatever. And I remember there was a little girl who was staying over the house that night. And that night I dyed like half of that kid's head without asking the parent. And then and then I got up early and got on a plane to go play, a funny bone or something. And I was just like, I'll let the moms deal with this. I'm really surprised that marriage didn't pan out. But that's a true story.
That's hilarious. That's actually a scene in Judd Apatow, who you're friends with.
Yeah.
He's got a new movie coming out called The King of Staten Island.
Yeah, I'm here to promote it.
Yeah, right.
I don't have anything else. It's a great movie. I loved it. I saw it. So. But
there's that scene where they tattoo a kid.
Yeah, which I love that scene. I really do love that movie. I thought it was great, and Bill Burr is amazing. And
yeah, Burr is I think this is gonna launch Bill Burr's acting career. I think it's gonna put him on the map.
He's so great in it. I love the movie. Did you work on that one?
No, he just showed me a couple cuts of it, and he wanted my kids to see it, so they watched it last week. And he's 19, and my daughter's 16, and they loved it, especially my daughter, because my daughter, she likes movies that have Judd went through a kind of transformation from big conceptual kind of gross out comedies into these really heartfelt, moving movies that are also very funny, but the comedy's coming from a little bit of a different place,
Well, this is much more like a 70s movie, in a good way,
Right.
It's an adult, it's a grown-up movie, which sounds weird to say. I don't know why. That sounds like an insult in a way. I did say that to him when I saw it. I go, I love this movie. You're doomed. Like if I'm your target audience, left to my devices, I make rom-coms with a tiny bit of bestiality and things like that. So So
they're on the couch, they're drinking red wine.
yeah.
All of a sudden the
Oh
dog
yeah.
comes in, the guy's looking at the dog.
Well, that's in the movie, kind of. Like he can't get past it. Like they'll be just hanging out, and the dog will walk through,
And the
it's
dog is presenting.
it does do that at one point. It's a movie about unconditional love, and that whole thing of like, it's called Sleeping Dogs Lie. It was called Stay when I made it, and it was about the idea that
Oh, you're serious?
oh yeah, I made a movie.
I thought you were fucking around.
No.
Oh my God.
This was my first movie that ever got into Sundance, and I shot
That's
it for
hilarious.
I shot it for $20,000 with a crew from Craigslist, and there's this one scene where we didn't have a garage to film in.
Yeah.
And so somehow the lock broke off of this home that was for sale across the street in the garage, and we load all the stuff in. And I said to the crew, I'm like, hey, this is a really intense scene for the actors, so we need to be quiet during this. And this kid goes, you don't have a permit again, do you? And I go, I don't know whose house this is. We shot the whole scene, and a little breaking and entering. But
great.
And it was funny. The guy who shot it, Ian Takahashi, he's now like the #1 underwater DP.
Oh,
but
shit.
He was in college at the time, and so we would tell people it was a college film when.
You got to find out the people that live in that house today and say, watch this movie. That's your house.
Up in the, I wrote like a thing in a beam up there, and they had like an attic in it, and I wrote a little note that we filmed this movie this day, this that.
Oh no shit, really?
Yeah. But and then we load out, and about 2 hours later, the moving vans pulled up. It was really good. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of that on that movie. A lot of theft.
That sounds like, I think the Coen brothers kind of started like that. I think with Blood Simple, there was some there. I don't know if they broke into a house, but there was a lot of unpermitted guerrilla style filming going on.
Yeah, when I did World's Greatest Dad with Robin, Williams, I don't know if have you seen that movie? I mean,
yeah.
So his son dies through autoerotic asphyxiation, whatever.
Right.
So it's another light movie, but I realized while we were filming that his character kind of gets over his son too fast, the demise of his son. It just didn't seem right. So I came up with this scene, and because the kid was perverted, and so the scene was Robin's looking at a newsstand, and it's all this like hardcore porn magazines, and he's just looking at it, and he starts crying because he's thinking of his son, and because hardcore porn triggers him to think about his dead son. So Chris from Nirvana, because we were up in Seattle, I called him up, and he's a friend, and I was like, hey, will you do this scene? And he goes, why? I go, because you're funny. And he goes, I am? Yeah. And so he's in the scene. He hugs Robin. He plays the newspaper vendor. But because we had no time for permits, because it was something I came up with while we were filming him.
Right.
And so I said to Robin, I go, we don't have permits today. And he's like, well, what do we do if the cops come? I go, run, just like Ed would. So
yeah, you really need one extra person to film the filming of the movie.
Oh yeah, always, like because especially on that cast, because it was so many comedians, it was mayhem some days.
Wait, who else was in it?
Well, I mean, like there was this one scene that Tom Kenny's in with Jill Talley, Toby Huss, Tony V, Robin, and it was this cacophony of madness. Like Huss is holding up things off camera that just be, Earl Fuckersley or just all the, madness. And I'm the one going, come on, guys, we really got to do this today. And they all start laughing. They go, wait, so you're the one that's calling for order? You're the
authority figure here, Bobcat Goldthwait. Okay.
Bobcat thinks things are getting a little too crazy.
I love it.
Yeah, it was. That was. that was it was it was a lot of laughs, and then it was, it's heavy too because the movie's heavy.
Right.
And it was yeah, I have fond memories of making that movie. That's the only thing of Robin's I've ever been able to watch, because I remember all the good times we had making it.
Right.
And when I see him show up and other things, I just can't watch it. Not like, oh, I can't watch it. It just doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know.
So, it's funny coming up I wanted to ask you, because we've talked a lot about Boston, because we both came out of the Boston scene at different times, and we have a lot of mutual friends from that world. And, the late, great Barry Crimmins, and then the late, great Kevin Meaney, and probably some people that are alive. And
I don't know. I just did this tour just before the clampdown with Dana Gould. And
you did?
Yeah, he brings that up on stage. He's like, so you were friends with, Robin was and Barry and you were, yeah. Who's your friend now? Who's your best friend now? Me.
Am I number 3?
Yeah.
Am I the guy?
Yeah. So it's, I've lost so many people that I just have to hope that I connect with people, and maybe that's why, and that I'm not schlep rock and I'm, causing people to pass away. It's just, there's so many people. Like, I just lost Jack Burns, Burns?
No.
So he was, him, but I mean, he was, Jack Burns was George Carlin's first comedy partner, Burns and Schreiber.
Oh, Burns and Schreiber, I've heard of. Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's Jack. So Jack also is like, I always said he should sue the Dos Equis company, because he's the most interesting man. He was like the last American to interview Castro, as he's the guy that punches Andy Kaufman on Fridays.
No shit.
He show ran the Muppets. He wrote the first Muppet movie. He was one of the creators of Hee Haw. He may or may not have slept with Dolly Parton. And he goes, Bobby, a gentleman doesn't discuss those things.
Oh,
so
that's a fucking Wikipedia page right there.
I like this one story. He was telling me he was having a party and the Hells Angels showed up, and this one of the Hells Angels starts peeing in his planter inside the house. He goes, this is your house, huh? He goes, yeah. He goes, what are you going to do about it? Jack just whips out his dick and starts peeing in his own planter. But
that's great. And he started as a stand-up.
Yeah, as with Carlin. I mean, he got busted. Like, remember how they would shake down Lenny Bruce and would bust people for being underage and things at his shows. So Jack got busted at a Lenny Bruce show. So just insane. So I would have lunch with Jack, once, twice a month for years. We were really close. He just passed away. But Jack would do this thing. It was almost like he just could not do it. And he'd go, Bobby, you know what I had for breakfast? And I go, what? He goes, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. But he couldn't stop even in the hospital bed. He goes, you know what kind of drugs they got me on? What? He goes, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. So he just couldn't stop doing it. So he's on a cruise, and there's this woman, and he's like, it's a couple from Texas, and he's like, you know what movie I saw last night? She's like, what? He goes, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. And he does it a few times, and the husband goes, look, I know what you're doing, and you're trying to make my wife look stupid, and I'm really pissed, and I'm asking you to knock it off. And Jack goes, I'm sorry. You know why I do that? He goes, why? He goes, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. But the funny part when Jack would tell that story, he'd go, I feel really bad about that. I really kind of owe that guy an apology. He was really.
But he could not do it.
Could not do it.
Yeah, that sounds like Meaney. Meaney was like that. He would torture people.
Yeah. And it was like that the Marx Brothers. If there was an authoritarian figure or somebody taking themselves too serious, Kevin was all in.
Right. I remember we were at me and Jake Johansson and Meaney were up in What's that area just south of San Francisco that's kind of wealthy? It sticks out.
Like Marin?
No, south.
Oh, San Jose?
It was the Boys and Girls Club. I forget. It was one of these ritzy towns.
Right.
And they had a Boys and Girls Club. So they were doing a golf tournament. And it was one of these deals where you play a round of golf, and then afterwards they have a lunch, and then everybody tells jokes. The comedians get up, and they each do like 10 minutes. And so we come up, and Meanie used to like to drink and smoke a lot when he played golf. And so by the time it's like 10 o'clock in the morning and we're done with the front nine, we're at the snack bar, and they have the Boys and Girls Club volunteers have a little barbecue going. And when you check in, they give you one ticket, one little lottery ticket, and you hand it to them, and you can have either a hamburger or you can have a hot dog. And so Meanie's out of his mind at this point. He gets his hamburger and he eats it, and then he goes back up, and it's a little old lady, and he goes, "Can I get a hot dog?" And she goes, "Do you have a ticket?" And he said, "No, I already used it for the hamburger." And she goes, "I'm sorry, you only get one item." We've driven all the way up from Los Angeles. This guy's normally making 50 grand to do a show like this.
Wow.
And so he starts riding her. He starts digging her, and she gets so upset. And they come over, and there's little kids watching. And me and Jake are like holding him back. And he goes, "What? I didn't call her a cunt?" And we had to leave. We were thrown out without doing the comedy show.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah. I mean, there's just the story at the Howard Johnson's with him jumping behind the cash register because they wouldn't give him change to make cigarettes.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, "I'm going to get the manager." And he's like, "Hi, I'm the manager. I've been in the food service industry all my life."
That was his running line. He always said that. "I've been in the food services industry my whole life."
But do
you know where he started in the food services industry?
No. Oh, wait.
Nolan Country Club in White Plains, New York, where I was a kid. My dad belonged to the club.
Yeah, you told me the story. And then and then later on he did remember you, didn't he?
Yeah, I came to see him at Catch a Rising Star when he had like exploded. He was, HBO special Carson appearances.
Yeah.
And I show up with a couple of college buddies at Catch a Rising Star in Cambridge, maybe the greatest comedy club of all time. And he gets off stage and he sees me and he goes, "Fitzsimmons, member number 236.
Wow.
Because I used to be the little kid going, "Kevin, give me another Coke.
Oh.
Kevin, I want a hot dog."
And he would be the one saying, "Do you have a ticket?"
Right.
You've already had a hamburger. I was talking to Tony and Tony B and I was talking about how I've just been eating, and I said I'm as fat as Frank Caliandro's impression of me.
I hope you tweet that out. That's a perfect tweet.
I don't. I don't even know. I'm sure I don't know if he even did me. That's just
the fat impression always involves like there's a little bit of wheezing. The tongue gets soft. So what's going on the side of the face? You got a little Band-Aid.
Oh, yeah. I should have. I've had a bunch of moles biopsied and removed, and the one there, the doctor goes, "Oh, I don't like this one at all."
Oh.
And I go, "It's not my face. You don't like it." It's really it's not the thing you want your doctor to.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
I had a lot of shoulder surgery, and I go to they get me this guy. He's the top of the line. He does all the sports medicine guy, and I go into his waiting room, and there's a million pictures of Sha Na Na. and I find out he was in Sha Na Na.
No, he
Yes,
wasn't.
yes, but I don't know this. I'm just
That's
waiting.
amazing.
I'm like, this guy fucking loves Sha Na Na. Yeah, there's like pictures of him with Keith Moon.
That's
Dr.
incredible.
Scott Powell, one of the top. Yeah.
That's amazing. And Sha Na Na, if you know, listen, there's a lot of listeners out here that don't appreciate what an aberration Sha Na Na was. A 50s band making fun of the 50s, but completely embraced by the counterculture of the late 60s.
Yeah, like they showed up at Woodstock.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got a picture of him with Keith Moon. I think if Bowser came out, I would have been a little like, I don't know if I'm going to have this guy operate on me. But you guys were serious when you sang "Get a Job."
Get a job.
Get a job. Yeah, he's got me back. Got my shoulder back. It's
dude, you know what movie fucking holds up? My kid. Now that it's the quarantine, we're watching. I've got him watching old movies. I'm like, all right, here are the essential movies that you and your friends are not watching. So we watched American Graffiti the other night. Oh my God, what an amazing movie!
That's crazy because my girlfriend and we watched that recently during this. Did? Yeah, and it's really good and it's really funny.
Yeah,
and I went down a rabbit hole. I started watching the making of and all this stuff and finding out, like, you know, when he pulls up on the scooter and he crashes.
Yeah,
he just really crashed.
Like the first scene of the movie. Yeah,
and he just really he did crash. It wasn't on purpose.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and it's just like, all right, moving on. I mean, it was just it was a movie shot with no schedule, no money, and you smash the bike up, perfect. Let's go, you know. And I think
and they were supposed to shoot in one suburb of LA, and the day before they were shooting, for some reason they shut down all their permits and they said, you're not shooting here.
Yeah,
and they moved and they started shooting the next day, like up by San Francisco, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't even know if they started filming or something, but yeah, they had to move the whole thing. Yeah, it's been interesting to go back and look at classic movies. You know, I've watched a lot of, like, you know, All the President's Men and Dog Day Afternoon and
Dog Day Afternoon. Are you showing these to your daughter?
No, because my daughter's an adult. She lives with her fella.
Yeah.
And it's weird. She comes by and I don't give her a hug. I mean, it's really weird. We went to the drive-ins. They were in the car next to us. I mean, that's really been hard. That's been really strange. But my daughter's a costume designer. She, you know, like that HBO McMillions, the docu. So all the reenactments, that was my daughter. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's like, you know, she's on eBay buying McDonald's uniforms from the 80s and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you see that when she was growing up? Was she very into clothing?
Yeah. When she was a kid, she always not like she liked clothes, but she wasn't like chasing designer labels, you know. She just would make her own clothes and sewing, and always carried a multiple luggage with her wherever she went, and just all this, always had all this clothes. And at the opening scene of Shakes the Clown, there's kids jumping through a sprinkler, and she's one of the kids, and she's probably 3. And she said, "Dad, I thought we were going to be in the movie together." And I go, "Well, I don't have my swimsuit." And then she opens up her suitcase, she's got my trunks in there.
She called your bluff.
Yeah, I should tell her this story because she was being a customer. She's like, "No, we got, you know." I brought them, and then I put them on in the camera truck, and then when we're watching dailies, it's in slow motion, these kids, and they're backlit in the water. And then in the dailies, you just see my gut going through the frame. Boom, boom, boom.
What you'll do for your kids. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So yeah, she's quarantined with her fella.
So
And
you feel you're that stringent about it that you won't even hug her, even though they're quarantined down themselves?
no, but I noticed that I'm a little lax. Like you go at the beginning, you got gloves on and you're
Yeah.
washing your groceries, and then you're not doing that and stuff. But yeah, I see a hug coming in my horizon.
Yeah, you're gonna need that. You're gonna need that. So are you so who's in your house with you?
It's just my girlfriend and I and
Yeah.
4 cats.
And 4 cats.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that helps.
Anderson Cooper's just right off the corner here. I got Anderson Cooper, P-U-R-R, P-U-R-R-R, Cooper, Anderson Cooper, Alice Cooper,
No.
Tina Belcher, and Robert Smith. That's
Why Robert Smith?
because this cat's depressed and he's got big hair and it's just depressed. It looks like he's got eyeliner on. It's like that cat is always in a shitty mood. It's really funny.
Eddie Lamar.
Yeah. So yeah, just me, a bunch of cats,
Wow. And what are you doing to kill the time? Crosswords? You're watching movies?
Well, Dana and I were on tour in the fall, and we were gonna film it. I was gonna make like a tour movie, and then we got in a car accident, and then I got a concussion and broken ribs, and
Jesus.
Dana had a broken rib and a bruised lung.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, my ego. Like I have to say that I had more damage.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm the headliner, obviously, in this
Yeah.
scenario.
I had
yeah.
PTSD. He was totally fine with it.
Yeah. So I had a bona fide concussion. I mean, it sounds like a bit, but it's really true. Like I was laying in the hospital and I'm remembering like what's going on, who I am, where I am, what I was doing. Like it was all coming back. And I swear to God, I had this moment. I was like, wow, he is the president. I truly had like this window.
Like rebooting your computer, and
because they're asking me questions like, "What year is it?" And I didn't know, and I didn't know a lot of things, and it came. So I was like, so I was down with that for a long time, and then that's what made me think I was watching a movie and they knock a guy out, and then he gets up and he's like, "It's like you knock a guy out." He would start screaming, go, "There's a bank robbery." Right. Oh, I'm the bank robber. Like, I mean, you didn't know. I was really loopy. And so so we just before this in the early February, we went back to the cities that we were going to do, did the shows and filmed them. And now I'm editing that into a thing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So it's Dana and I and us on the road, but it seems to be, more about being comedians our age and our whole I don't want it to be pretentious, but at the same time I hope it's entertaining. Right now it just starts off with Dana and I driving and he's like, "We didn't like each other when we met." I go, "No, I hated you." He's like, "Yeah, well, I hated me too." I go, "Yeah, we had that in common." So
was it you guys knew each other back in Boston or back in San Francisco?
Boston. Met him in Boston.
Wow.
And I was, I had my own problems, but Dana, he'll say it, if you met me before I was 30, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right. I love the guy, but then he was pretty insufferable. And I was really mean to him. That's the thing that's funny. It's like I went back and looked at a little bit of my stand-up and I was like, oh, I mean, I was really vicious. Do you know what I mean? It's like I would make a joke, but then I would keep going.
Right.
And just, it's really strange, like to go, oh, no
and
wonder.
You were also attacking stand-up comedy as you were doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, I was making fun of stand-up comedy, and then I was just tearing everything down. But I just saw it was like, I don't know. When you're in it, you're just like, oh, everybody needs to have a sense of humor. What's the big deal?
Right. Well, yeah, especially coming out of the Boston scene where it is so anti-authoritarian and it is so, everyone's a maverick. Everybody's an outlaw in Boston. But did you get pushback from being sort of by attacking stand-up? Did you get people going like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, or they would just see it on the one level. You know, I thought it was funny to do a guy that shouldn't be doing stand-up. So I go up and I can't even get, thank you. It's nice to be here. I can't even get that out and read a Dear John letter, like stop the act. And I read a real Dear John letter and I'd start crying and I'd go back to my act and it'd be like, my wife is so fat. How fat is she? She's like, I told you I don't even have a girlfriend,
Yeah.
And then it's like, what? So I think like they were just thinking, I think like some people, anybody could do that. Just go up there and act like a crazy person. That's not the word they would use, but.
So where did you fit in terms of Boston had a couple different scenes going, and there was the guys that were like Lenny Clark and that were the mainstream, the killers, the headliners.
The guys,
and then you had the offbeat guys.
Well, when I came in, it wasn't, it was before Eugene and Cross and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, it was, Barry kind of ran the scene, Lenny, Sweeney, all these guys, Mike Donovan, who were, especially Donovan. I went back, I've been working on this thing. I was listening to Donovan's material. It's really solid.
So good.
It's really solid.
Yeah.
But so I was this weirdo, and like Barry was more of a mentor. It wasn't like we weren't BFFs, and I'm this kid, and I met Tony V at open mics, and I was like, thank God, I met this other Starbelly Sneetch, this other outsider because everybody else was up and running, and we were both trying to get in.
Right.
And it was like I think I met him like at his first open mic, and we were just the weirdos, and we started talking to each other. In fact, it's that's how I met Robin. Was at the Comedy Connection when there was like this small room. Do you know that room? Were you around? Of course.
Yeah. On
the
Warrington
small room.
Street. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like explosive. That room was really good.
Explosive. So amazing. Yeah.
And so Paul Barkley, who ran the club, he's like, Robin Williams is coming. Go in the kitchen. I don't want him to meet you. And this is like when I would wear leisure suits and I would have all this mascara and eyeliner, and it'd all be dripping off of my face. And so I'm just standing in this tiny kitchen by myself. And then he comes in. He's like, hello. He's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. He's like, he finally goes, what are you doing here? I go, they didn't want me to meet you. And he's like, why? I go, I don't know. It was really weird. That's our first meeting. And that's how we,
oh my God. He must have thought he was tripping. He's in the kitchen and there's a guy in a leisure suit with mascara running.
Who looks like the very people that he's probably trying to dodge.
Yeah, right.
I'm all sweaty, stringing long hair.
And he's like, I'm supposed to be the weirdest guy here.
Yeah, or he was nice because he was always nice when he met people, but and then I moved out to San Francisco and I started performing, and then he would come to the shows, but he wouldn't talk. I'd just hear him laughing, and then he'd split. I think he really thought I was that guy again, a crazy guy, and then being super vicious, and then
You know who I want to ask you about? Because I know you're friends with Martin Olson.
Yeah.
And was he part of that Boston scene as well?
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. He
now, just if people don't know Martin Olson, he's this guy he's this kind of like mainstay of stand-up comedy for a lot of years in terms of he did it, but really more as a writer and a guy who could shape comedy.
Yeah, who's the guy that? I'm forgetting the guy's name that worked with Lenny Bruce and Rodney. But he was like that. Joe Ansons. Okay. And so that was Martin, he was always shaping, he sat on the side of the stage playing piano, and then all of a sudden you did a new bit or an ad lib or something, and you would hear him cackle really loud.
Yeah.
And it was like almost a way to remember that worked,
And then early on, before, everybody wrote their own material, But
Yeah.
then Martin was this guy that was like writing jokes for Lenny Clark, and who was like, like you said, he hosted. Was it the Ding Ho that he hosted at, or was it the Connection?
Oh, Lenny had shows at both places, but
No, I mean where he was. But they lived together too, didn't they?
yeah, they had the Barracks, which was a
Oh yeah,
rent
tell me
control.
about the Barracks. This is amazing.
It was just, well, I didn't live at the Barracks, but it was just like, I can't explain it. It was like rent control with all these comics. There was always a card game. There was, there, there's this lady next door, and she would go, she was always screaming to Lenny, "I hope you die, Lenny Clark," because it's just all drugs and music and people coming in. "I hope you die," and he'd be going, "Shut up, you old cunt." It'd be witty partay going back and forth. So then this is Rogerson's story, but that woman got murdered, and the cops show up, and so Rogerson knocks on Lenny's door. He goes, "Hey, Lenny, you didn't kill that old lady next door, did you?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Hey, come on in, officers." It was so the Barracks was just kind of like an offshoot of what the Ding Ho itself was. I've been working on this, making a narrative movie of Call Me Lucky into a feature film, and it's making me, I'm even doing more research than I ever did when I made that movie.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's like I've learned, like, how did Barry get the job and all that stuff.
Right. This is Barry Crimmins. In case you didn't see it,
I'm sorry.
You should see it. Call Me Lucky. It's a documentary that Bobcat did about legendary political satirists. There are very few of those.
Yeah. I mean, the big joke. I mean, the joke that people will say all the time, because it's the quickest way to know him, is he did get heckled because he's doing political material. It's like, if you don't love this country, why don't you leave it? He's like, because I don't want to be victimized by its foreign policies. So Barry got the job. It was a country western club that this guy Sean Lee took over, and they did a Chinese restaurant, but he kept the country western motif. So there's a wagon wheel, and it's just, and then they're booking acts. So Barry was day drinking in the place, and I don't know much about sports. Is it Thurman Munson? Is that the catcher who,
for the Yankees?
And he died in a plane crash.
Right.
So some Boston guy is making a joke about Thurman Munson.
Oh.
And then Barry's like, "All right," and he gets up and he just punches the guy and throws him out the door.
No shit.
Yeah. And then he comes back in, and Sean Lee, the guy who owns the club, Barry's like, "Yeah, I know, I gotta go." And he goes, he offered him a job. He needed a bouncer. So it's funny, the more I research and find out these real stories, they're almost unbelievable. Well,
he was very much like, he was the enforcer. I can remember going to Catch a Rising Star, which was the esoteric club. It was where it's in Harvard Square, and it was like, like you were mentioning, like David Cross. So like when I was coming up, it was guys like, it was Dave Cross and Mark Maron and Janine Garofalo and Laura Keitlinger and Jonathan Groff. It was like all these smart comics. And for me to come in there, I was like, I came up in the Lenny scene. I was like at Nick's Comedy Stop doing dick jokes. I was in college, so I was like a complete asshole. And so I remember going in there, and Barry would walk back and forth in the back of the room with his unlit cigar in his mouth. And if he didn't like something he said, he would yell, "Hack. That's a hack bit."
Yeah.
In the middle of your set, you're scared shit. And so I went there once, and that happened to me, and I didn't come back until like 2 years later, when I felt like I had a set that was more appropriate for Harvard Square.
He would heckle, he would just yell at you. He wasn't even like trying to be funny.
Right.
Barry threw a heckler out in a wheelchair once. The guy was Guy was heckling, and he's drunk, and Barry's like, he didn't say I own this club. I run this club, and the guy's giving him shit, and then Barry goes, the guy's like, well, what are you gonna do about it? And he's like, you don't get it. You're portable, and. And the bouncers came and lifted him up and took him out of the club. But I remember
had him rolling in the aisles.
There was this one comic who was terribly unfunny, open micer, one of those people that just never gives up, but doesn't understand that they're never going to get it. You know, a delusional person.
What are you saying, Bobcat?
I'm saying I'm gonna just collect my SAG pension and just call it in. No, so this open micer, and he has the audience does an evil thing, and they start laughing and clapping at this guy's bad jokes.
Yeah.
So Barry's got some decency. He's like, "Stop it! You don't know what you're doing." He's like, "This is cruel," and the guy's like, "You're just mad they love me, Barry," or whatever. And then Barry just lays on the stage while he's like, "Just get off the stage," and the guy won't get off. So Barry lays on the stage and he goes, "All right, say your last joke ever at the Ding Ho. Go ahead, say your last." But
yeah, that's a time, like, a lot of people have tried to capture the different moments in Boston, and I still think there's so much more to be captured. Like, you know, when Fran Salamita did that, when stand-up stood out or stood up?
Yeah, I think stood out.
And I know somebody else now that's trying to produce something more of the transition between the Lenny days and then the days where it was like Cross and Maron and Louis C.K. and a couple years later, guys like Burr and me. I don't think I'll be in it. I never seem to make it into these movies.
Is it a doc or is it a narrative?
A doc.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been trying to tell this story, and I'm doing it with Judd. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I've been going back and forth on how do you, Judd was saying you should put you in it, and I was like, no, I don't want to. And then the more I started writing, I was like, okay, I think I am a character in this. And if I'm going to be a character, I better be flawed,
Yeah, right.
So, because I don't want to make me look like, I mean, I don't want to be an asshole. So, yeah, it's hard. I've written a lot on it. I've actually written hundreds of pages on this script, and I'm trying to cut it into something.
So, as a director, how does that affect how you write a film, knowing you're going to direct it?
You know, it's funny, when I was directing the series I did, Misfits and Monsters on True, knowing that I was going to direct it, I could just go exterior moon, and I would really write a page like that, and I knew what I was going to do. And then the production designer was like, "What do you mean exterior moon?"
Right.
But it wasn't something for other people to read. It was more of a recipe.
Right.
But writing this, like trying to think, what if you never met Barry, and try to it's a little hard. I try not to make it so wordy. It's really wordy right now.
What is I'm going to ask you this because, like, you've directed stand-up. You did Patton Oswalt's stand-up special.
Yeah.
And you've done a bunch, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? And then you used to direct on Jimmy Kimmel. And I used to do stand-up on Kimmel a bunch. And I know you directed my stand-up a couple times. And it really was better. It popped. And I just want to ask you, like, what do you think about when you're directing a 1-hour special? Because it really matters who directs it.
Well, thanks. I think of a lot of different things. Some folks actually, you're actually helping shape the structure, even,
of the material.
And then other folks, they know they've already got it down. So I basically try to listen to the comic, and I try to make it so when they walk out, he or she is not thinking about anything at all that that they, it's usually just, making sure everything's the way they wanted it to be. Try not to reinvent the wheel. I mean, the most important thing is that one person on the stage, and covering them. And I'm not trying, I try not to be too splashy. It's mostly making the comic, usually you go up to the comic and you go, well, you've already done all your work. Now it's all done and have fun.
Yeah.
And they usually, the first show usually goes well. And then you tell them, we've got it. You can put that on TV. Now go out there. And 90% of the time they loosen up. The one I did with Patton, it was when he was talking about his Michelle, who passed away. He had never really put all that material in the structure it was in until that show. And that first show is the show. And so it's just little things. It's like, I knew when he disclosed about losing her, and it's heartbreaking. I knew that was just going to be a really slow push, and it's all in one take, and it just goes real slow. And it's the stuff people don't notice, I didn't.
So what about the mechanics of it? Like, you've got 5 cameras shooting it?
It's something like that. It's like usually like 7, but on his, I was actually watching people in the audience and calling cameras and cutting to people who are bursting into tears. Mm-hmm. And I ended up not putting it in a cut because it ended up making it like Dr. Phil or something. Mm-hmm. It was right. It took away from the viewers. So I guess you think about a lot of stuff. Directing live Kimmel, like when I first started on that show, it was live. Yeah. So now I know I'm rusty. I don't know if I could do a live cut, but it's funny.
When you directed Kimmel, the ratings apparently went through the roof. They went up to like 2 million viewers.
Well, I think that has to do with just Jimmy's always working and figuring out and making things better.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I always say, he hired me when my name was a punchline, Uh-huh. So I owe this second career I have all to Kimmel.
Wow.
He's a good man. He's a really good man. And it's, and there's so many things that Jimmy does for people that people don't even know. He's just a good guy.
Now he boggles my mind because he's one of those guys that, first of all, hosting a late night talk show is maybe the hardest job in show business. To show up 4 days, however many times they tape a week, early in the morning, roll up your sleeves, go all fucking day. And, not only writing jokes, but also like dealing with production needs, casting, getting on the phone with Toledo so you can promote the show. And then at the same time, you're going to be hosting the upfronts next month. So you're working on a script for that. Yeah. And then he's the guy who also like has everybody over on Sunday to watch football at his house while he grills on his smoker.
Yeah.
And remembers your birthday. And I mean, he's one of these guys where you're like, do you fucking sleep?
Yeah, which is weird because he's actually a narcoleptic.
Oh, is he really? I didn't know that.
A little unknown fact, yeah.
Wow.
Because he he's all dialed in with his meds and stuff. But when I was directing, I'm like, are his eyes open?
Yeah.
Wow. That show, it was like, I'd never had a job. I was a janitor in my high school. I worked in a grocery store. I moved to Boston. I was a waiter for a couple months. And then I've always just did stand-up, So 3 years at Kimmel meant that I showed up for work, and I loved it. I actually had friends, and I didn't have those kind of relationships ever. On the road, you don't, maybe there's a feature you work with, but it was, and then what happened was I went out and made that movie we were talking about for $20,000. It got in the Sundance, and then it was just kind of time to leave, but it was really hard to leave. I remember when the night I left, I shot a bunch of pre-roll of the audience without the audience. We just used the staff, and then I would be sitting in the bleachers, So like Jimmy had a joke that didn't land. I just cut to me eating a sandwich, or me dressed as a woman, or just all these funny cutaways. He didn't know it was coming.
Oh,
and
that's great.
and I would always wear a weird hat to the set every day.
Yeah.
Like I'd have like, cause like, and someone was like, well, why do you do that? And it was always because even now, often when I direct, I'll wear a stupid hat, and it's to remind myself to not lose my temper. You know, if you know, what I mean, if you're screaming at people and you're in a sombrero,
Yeah.
you just look like an idiot. You know, he's oh no, he took his fez off. He's really mad. But that did happen one day. Something
That's
was wrong
hilarious.
like I asked for something. It's not getting done. And I throw the hat off and I come stomping down into the set. And Cleto, the band leader, goes, he's not wearing a hat. He's really mad. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy stories there. I used to poor you know, Bob Einstein, Super Dave. I tortured that man. And none
When
of it
when he was a guest?
Yeah, he was a guest a lot.
Yeah.
And he could be a little difficult. So I would do things like oh, I remember so once Andy Dick was on the night before. And I go to the prop department. I go get a flat screen TV and gift wrap it and give me a card. So I write, "Dear Andy, another tremendous job. Thanks for coming on the show. Your friends, you know." And then half opened it. I go, "Now put this in Super Dave's dressing room and put it in the corner." So he's in the dressing room for 2 minutes. "Who the fuck is Andy? Who the fuck is it?" They go, "Andy Dick." He just screamed, "How many times have I done the show? I've never gotten the fucking thing. Andy Dick, tell me one thing Andy Dick's ever done funny." Like just furious. And I remember Dickie Barrett's like, "He's really mad. He's really losing it." And I go, "Okay." I go gift wrap up a Kimmel baseball cap. It said, "Dear guest, thanks for coming on the show." I go put Dave in this. We had this one room that had been a closet, and we would use it when there was overflow guests. And so we moved all his shit into this closet. Not gonna give him the.
Oh, that's great.
He was so furious. Jimmy's like, "You got to calm him down. I don't know what you're doing. You got him too wound up."
Was that good for his appearance on the show or bad?
That was weird because he what he did was that it didn't really get us back, but he didn't leave the set, so he just stayed on like because they don't do that on Kimmel, but he just wouldn't go away. And the stage manager's like going, "He's not getting off. He says he's still mad at you." I don't care, but it was that. Oh, and then there was you know, he had a mannequin that was like, not a mannequin, but this dummy that looked like him that they'd use for all the Super Dave, you know, the stunts.
Yeah.
Like Super Dave would crash, and it was obviously this dummy, but it cost a lot of money. It was like $3,000. It was really, really like he left it there, and he's like, and he had the wardrobe lock it up, and that was my girlfriend at the time. So I know that I have access to this dummy. So I get it, and I get Sal, and we just take photos of me just doing really lewd things with this dummy. Like I have its nose in my butthole, and I'm like, ooh, you know, just I'm having sex with it on Jimmy's desk, just all over the whole building. And then
Did you send him the pictures?
No, then I had the photos blown up and framed. And I put him in his dressing room.
That's hilarious.
It was just like, you know, it was funny. And also like Sal, you know, is a really big prank guy.
Sure. Cousin Sal.
But it was like between him and I, we knew it was like a war with no winners.
Yeah.
Like there was mutual respect. We just wouldn't get into it with each other.
Yeah.
Like his thing is like if you have food, he loves to slap it out of you. He can't not slap it out of your hand. You know, you have a pizza, he's got to knock it out of you. He's just got to.
Yeah.
It's like,
there's guys that are part of that group because it's the merry pranksters. Everybody is. And it's where, I guess that's where that Windy City Heat came out of, right?
Yeah,
That mentality.
That same.
And so there was a guy, and I remember Carolla asked me to guest host his podcast live. There was an event. It was like a Jimmy Kimmel event with Adam, and I forget why, but he had me guest hosting. And one of those guys came on, and he was a drug addict who was in recovery. And I pull, and I don't even drink, but I pull out a beer and I start rolling a joint during the interview. And then he goes silent and he's staring at me, and I go, "What are you thinking about right now?" And he's an ex-con. He goes, "I'm trying to weigh out whether or not I want to go back to jail again." Like, he was that close to attacking me.
Well, I had you tell the story, but one of my favorite all-time stories is you in the watch. We don't have to go down.
Oh, right. Refer to the previous episode.
Yeah, that's one of the best stories ever.
Yeah. I'm getting that animated right now. I'm doing a bunch of.
Are you really? Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm getting a bunch of comics, and I'll hit you up at some point to tell like 1-minute stories.
Oh, that's great.
I have this guy that's animating them. It's really fun.
That story is one of my favorite all-time
stories.
So,
all right, before I let you go, we'll play a quick game I like to play with my guests. It's called Rank 'em. I'm going to give you 3 people. You're going to rank them. Bill Maher, Jay Leno, David Letterman.
So, like, in order of, like, one is the best?
Whatever your criteria is, rank them.
Oh, okay. Well, 1, Letterman, Maher, and Leno.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. You worry that that's going to haunt you with Leno?
No, I mean, I set his show on fire. I don't know if that's really going to.
What was the fine on that? Would they hit you up for that?
$4,000. I think it was
$4,000.
$4,000 and community service and probation for a few years. But
did you do community service?
Yeah, I did.
What did you do?
I did a PSA, and in my nightclub act, I would go, "Hi, I'm Bobcat Goldthwait. If you're ever on a talk show, don't set it on fire." Ah! Right, but. Back to you, McGruff. Here's your old friend Kelsey Grammer. But in that thing I'm working with Dana, I found the actual one, and it's bad. It's it's like, "Hi, I'm Bobcat Goldthwait. I can switch back and forth, but if you're seriously injured in a fire," I get shit chills just doing it. It's like they broke me. It's so disturbing.
He made you a fire bitch.
Yeah, and then the fire marshal didn't like my performance, and I had to refilm it. Yeah, I love the fact that the Burbank fire marshal wants to direct. It's like, "Bobcat, you give me a 6, and I need a 9. Keep it big in here, small in here. Let's go again." So yeah, I had to refilm it. So yeah, and then I had a period where I felt bad that I had attacked Jay, who was only not the fire thing, but as much as I would say mean things about him. And the guy was only trying to get me. He was only booking me on his show.
Right.
And I'm mad at the guy because in my ego, he didn't do it soon enough or whatever the BS,
Yeah.
So I'm mad at this guy who was just trying to throw me a bone. But then he called me up. And I pick up the phone back, when you had a phone and didn't say who was calling. So I pick it up and he goes, "That's Leno." And I go, "Hey." He goes, "So is Letterman a good guy and I'm an asshole?" And I'm like, "I don't know either of you, man." I did say this. I go, "From where I stand, you're both fucking nuts." And he started laughing. So it's always funny. It's like, it's the twist, It's like I stick it in. That's kind of enough. I make my point, right. And then I would go a little more. And I'm trying to suss that out, like what.
You still do that?
I try not to, but man, it's this thing, I made a decision years ago that I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while something comes up and I'm like, "Oh man, that's a good line though,"
Yeah. Right.
And so as a comic, you're wrestling with, you know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's
Yeah.
like Seinfeld recently went off on me on his show, and part of me is like, all right, well, I really did attack that guy, and then another part of me is like wants to go. He's finally got an opinion, and it's about me, you know. Like I know stuff, you know what I mean? His biggest
Wait, so when
talent.
he went after you, was it in response to you having shit on him
Well, here's the
throughout
thing,
your
like
career?
I did, but I hadn't done it in years.
Yeah.
And he plugged this pilot that I made with Bridget Everett. So I thought, oh, I guess we're good. And I'm like very palsy with his manager, who's a really sweet guy. And but you know what? I was like, oh, I messed up because I just assumed that being friends with a guy's manager is not the same thing as like saying, hey man, I shouldn't have attacked you for no reason. And
Right.
I had issues with you, and here they are. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I've never been a good at the hug it out, bro. I just go right to atomic, you know.
Yeah.
Like, so now he spends time on his show bashing me, and I'm like, part of me is like, oh,
You
know
mean
what I mean?
in getting cars with coffee,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Millionaires in cars complaining that their diamond shoes are too tight. So yeah.
Yeah. You mean podcast? Can we just call the show podcast?
Podcast the in a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, the guy's got all the reasons to be mad at me, but it was really because I really did go hard on the guy. But it's like it's really sad and strange because he's, Bridget goes, well, I love him, and he's like, well, that's good, you love him. Audience don't love him, they love me because I'm funny, and I'm like,
He said that?
yeah, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to give you that hug Daddy never gave you. That's really. I've never confused having an audience like me with if I'm a decent person or not.
Yeah. Right.
So I actually feel bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go out on that. Bobcat Goldthwait.
I feel bad. Maybe that'll be the name of the thing.
Well, maybe you'll direct his next special.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Just start out with a hug.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
All right. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, Judd's movie. It's really good.
All right.
The King of Staten Island.
All right. Plug it up. And then I'm going to plug, don't forget, the other podcast, Sunday Papers, which is available on Sundays, me and Mike Gibbons. It's no longer on Fitzdog Radio. You have to search for that podcast on its own. And then don't forget also omaxhealth.com. Enter code DOG and get 20% off Cryofreeze. That'll do it. Bobcat, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. I'm a little confused. You had to let yourself go?
To what?
Your own podcast isn't on your podcast anymore? You had to let yourself go?
I have a second podcast,
okay,
but I launched it on this one, and then it became
my
own thing.
You had to...
It was like Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days.
All right. Okay,
right.
good.
All right. Thanks again, brother.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
All right. I'll see you soon.